One should bathe in the ocean of nectarian love that emanates from the lotus feet of Sisi Gandharva Giridhari. Gandharva referred to Srimati Radhika, who is the internal energy, Swarup Shakti of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Giridhari refers to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who possesses all unlimited, inconceivable potencies, and is thus known as Shaktiman Purush. Here one is advised to bathe in the Visuddha Chit Vilas, the ocean of nectar of transcendental spiritual transformation. This nectar arises from love of the shelter of Gandharva Giridhari's lotus feet. To elaborate this subject, Rupa Goswami's praise in Sri Prarthana Paddhati of his Staumala. There are 7 verses, and we will just read the translation. O Sri Radha, I offer obeisances to you. You have a complexion of pure golden hue, possesses of a pair of a doe-like, restless eyes, have a face that conquered the beauty of millions of full moons, and dress in dark cloud-like garments. Your hair is decorated by the gopis using mallika, jasmine flowers, and your body is decorated with divine gems. Haribol, somebody has unmuted. Let's see where we left. Your hair is decorated by gopis using mallika, jasmine flowers, and your body is decorated with divine gems and ornaments. You are the guru of all expert gopis, the receiver of the admiration of your followers, extremely dear to your confidence, and surrounded by your 8 primary sakhis, female friends. By a mere movement of the corner of your eyes, you make Lord Keshava restless, and the nectar of your delightful lips is only source of life for the son of Nanda Maharaj. Having offered obeisances in these ways, I, a distressed soul belonging to you, beg you with sweet words while rolling on the banks of Yamuna. Although I am unfit and offender with crooked mind, please bestow on me a fragrance of the gift of service to you. This unhappy soul is not fit to be neglected by you, for you have a butter-soft heart that melts constantly by the warmth of your compassion. Srila Rupa Goswami further elaborates on this subject matter in his Radha Madhavayor Nama Yugastakam of his Staumala. 3 verses are there. We will read the translation. I now recite the following 8 names of Sri Radha Madhava. She is Radha and he is Damodar, whom she bound during month of Kartik. She is Radhika and he is Madhava, the husband of goddess of fortune. She is Vrushbhanu Kumari, the daughter of the Vrushbhanu, and he is Gopendra Nandan, the son of Nanda Maharaj, the king of cowherds. She is Govinda Priya Sakhi, the dear female friend of Govinda, and he is Gandharva Bandhava, the dear male friend of Gandharva. They are Nikunj Nagaro, the couple enjoying amorous moods in the forest bowers of Vrindavan. Gosta Kisara Jana Sekharo, the leaders of the young gopis and gopas of Vrindavan, and Vrindavan Nadyapo, the two presiding rulers of Vrindavan. She is Krishna Vallabha, the dear darling of Krishna, and he is Radhika Priya, the beloved of Sri Radhika. Once deceitful nature is removed, when the heart is completely pure with humility, taking shelter of such names and soaking one's mind in the spiritual rasa, please ceaselessly wander around in the land of Vrindavan, meditating on Sri Radha Govinda pastimes throughout the periods of the day, Ashtakaliya Lila. Then the mind purified by humility. Again, somebody unmute their phone. Satya Prabhu Haribol. Haribol. Let's read again. Once a deceitful nature is removed, when the heart is completely pure with humility, taking shelter of such names and soaking one's mind in the spiritual rasa, please ceaselessly wander around in the land of Vrindavan, meditating on Sri Radha Govinda pastime throughout the periods of the day, Ashtakaliya Lila. Then the mind, purified by humility, will not give any space to deceit. Otherwise, the moment any other thought is given an opening, deceit again attacks. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur song is there, and I'm gonna just read the translation. Aside from desire, anger, and the other thieves, there is one subtler enemy of yours. His name is deceit, and is also known as insincerity. That enemy is a tricky entity and is in the form of a donkey. My dear mind, please try to understand the deeper essence. You are joyfully bathing in this donkey's urine by mistakes, thinking it to be something pure. Whether you live in a forest or at home, keep away from that donkey whose urine burns both you and me. Let's escape that charm of our own duplicity and sportingly bathe in the beautiful ocean of the divine couple's sweet love. At the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath, Bhakti Vinod begs to see the beautiful ocean of the divine couple's love. A single drop from that ocean makes life worth living and steals away the heart and mind of all the living beings. So we will stop here and then we will read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We are reading the volume number 3 and the chapter title as New Jagannath Puri. So I'll read a few lines that we read yesterday to bring up to the speed, and then we will continue. Prabhupada lecture about the 4 social and 4 spiritual order of life described in the Vedic literatures. According to one's quality and work, he said, each person has a certain occupational duty. But the ultimate goal of the duty is, he explained as, is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. It doesn't matter if one is low-born or poor. Material qualification has nothing to do with spiritual evolution. Spiritual evolution is that with your talent, with your capacity, with your work, you have to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So we read yesterday, we will continue. So Prabhupada gave the example of Sridhar, an impoverished devotee of Lord Chaitanya's, who earned the equivalent of less than 5 cents a day, yet offered half of his earning in worship of the Ganga. If one were rich, however, one should still give half his wealth to the service of the Lord. Prabhupada cited Rupa Goswami, who had given 50% of his wealth for Krishna consciousness, given 25% for his family, and saved 25% for emergencies. Suddenly, Prabhupada began speaking about the money his disciple in New York has lost. Quote, and 25% for himself, so that in times of emergency, because as soon as money is gone out of my hand, I have no control. We have recently lost $6,000, not here, in our New York. So as soon as the check is out of the hand, now it is gone. It is gone. So Prabhupada gestured to indicate money flying like a bird out of his hand. At this reference to the troubling, entangling affair with Mr. Price and the foolish boys and their hard-earned money gone, Prabhupada paused for a moment and then he continued with the lecture. Quote, paying attention to Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, is practical. Unquote. Srila Prabhupada says, quote, here is Krishna. Krishna's form is there. Krishna's color is there. Krishna's helmet is there. Krishna's advice is there. Krishna's instructions are there. Krishna's sound is there. Everything Krishna. Everything Krishna. There is no difficulty. Quote, but if you turn your attention to the impersonal and to the super soul in the heart, as the yogis do, then it is very difficult. It is very difficult. You cannot fix your attention to the impersonal. In the Bhagavad Gita it says, Kleso dikhatras tesam avyaktaksta chetasam. Those who are attached to the impersonal future of the Absolute Truth, their business is very troublesome. It is not like chanting, dancing and eating. This is very nice, but that is very troublesome. And even if you speculate on the impersonal, the result that is achieved by working hard for many, many lives is that you will have to also eventually come to Krishna, unquote. Srila Prabhupada continued describing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead citing evidence from the scripture like Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Samhita. The first step in spiritual life, he explained, was to hear from Krishna himself. But Prabhupada warned that if one heard the class and then went outside and forgot, he could not improve. Whatever you are hearing, you should say to others. Prabhupada says, and he gave the example of how disciples were writing in Back to Godhead what they have heard from the spiritual master. And to speak or write what one has heard, a person has to be thoughtful. You know, one time my Guru Maharaj told me that if you hear something nice, you repeat 7 times to different devotees, and that message will stay with you eternally. That's what he says. You are hearing about Krishna, and you have to think, then you have to speak. Otherwise, it will not work. Shrutvakya kirtavyasya deyah pujyasya. And you should worship. Therefore, you require this deity for worshipping. We have to think of, we have to speak, we have to hear, we have to worship. And should we do this occasionally? No. Nityada, regularly. This is the process. So anyone who adopts this process, he can understand the absolute truth. This is the clear declaration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Any questions? So a young boy raised his hand and began earnestly. Quote, wow, you mentioned about how we should follow the supreme law, how we should be like what your spirit tells you, or what you, your supreme, whatever it tells you. I mean, whatever it tells you, I mean, if you meditate a lot, you feel you should do something. Prabhupada, it is not something, it must be actual fact. Boy, yeah, I mean like. Prabhupada, so there is no question of something. Boy, well, I see. Prabhupada, something is vague. You must speak what is that something. Boy, well, let's say B.O. Prabhupada, that you cannot express. That means you have no idea. So we have to learn. This is the process. I'm speaking of the process. If you want to have knowledge of the absolute truth, the first thing is faith. Then you must be thoughtful. Then you must be devoted. And you must hear from authentic sources. These are the different methods. And when you come to the ultimate knowledge, from Brahman platform to Paramatma platform, and then to the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead, then your duty shall be to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the perfection of your active life. These are the processes, and it is concluded that everyone, never mind what he is, his duty is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how can we satisfy? We have to hear about him. We have to speak about him. We have to think about him. We have to worship him. And that is regularly. This will help you. But if you have no worship, if you have no thought, if you have no hearing, if you have no speaking, and if you are simply thinking of something, that something is not good. But makes so nice point. Huh? So boy, I mean, well, you know, I'm so young. I didn't know what I meant. I don't know what. Prabhupada, don't know that I'm speaking, that you have to know by these processes. We are all don't knows. So we have to know. That is the process. There is another young woman. Since we don't yet understand the supreme law, because we are young and just new to this, then how can we speak about it? Prabhupada. Therefore, you have to hear. The first thing is Srotavya. You have to hear. Unless you hear, how can you speak? We are therefore giving you facility to hear. You hear and then you speak. Then you can think. We are giving all facility to hear, to speak, to think, and to worship. This is the society's work. Unless you hear, how can you speak? The first task is given Srotavya, then Kirtityavas, Chadheyaya, Ujyasya, Nityada. These are the processes. You have to hear, and hearing, you have to repeat, chant, and then you have to think. You have to worship. These are the processes. So now Upendra is asking, Swamiji, so we have to hear, I understand. But do we speak, or do we first listen for a long time and then speak? Prabhupada, no. Why a long time? Suppose you hear 2 lines. You repeat that 2 lines. And aside from everything else, you hear Hare Krishna. So you can chant Hare Krishna. What is the difficulty there? Srotavyaha kirtivyayascha. You have to hear and chant. So if you cannot remember all the topics which we are speaking from the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, you at least remember this, Hare Krishna. Therefore, it is the easiest process. You hear Hare Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. The other thing will come automatically. Now this is possible for everyone. Even the child can repeat Hare Krishna. What is the difficulty? You hear Hare Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. We are not giving you very difficult or troublesome task. Then everything will follow. We are giving you everything. But if you feel in the beginning it is difficult, then you can do this. This is very nice. Chant Hare Krishna. You are doing that, actually hearing and chanting. This process will help you. It is the basic principle of advancement in spiritual life. Without hearing, we shall simply concoct, waste our time, and mislead people. We have to hear from the authoritative sources. So then Srila Prabhupada paused. The philosophical talk had been rigorous, lasting about 45 minutes. He wasn't tired. He could have gone on, but now he wanted to conduct the deity installation. Everything necessary for spiritual life was here. The temple, the devotees, the books, the deities, and prasadam. He wanted these young people to take advantage of it. Why should they remain living like animals and thinking of spiritual life as a vague groping for something? They should take advantage of Krishna's mercy and be successful and happy. And for this, Prabhupada was their tireless servant. So Prabhupada, so Hayagriva, come here. Prabhupada had had the devotees arrange for a large candle on a plate. The ceremony he had planned would be a simple one, with devotees and guests, one after another, coming up and offering the flame on circle before the Jagannath deities. This should be light up, Srila Prabhupada says. And when there is a kirtan, one must be doing like this before the deity. Srila Prabhupada moved his hand around in a circle before the deity. You see? Hayagriva, yes, yes. Prabhupada, yes, with the kirtan. And then one person is tired, he should hand it over to another person, another devotee. When he starts, he should give it to another one. As long as the kirtan will go on, this should be done with the kirtan just now. Do you follow? Yes. You begin, and when you are tired, you hand over to another. It will go on like that. Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada from his seat guided Hayagriva in approaching the deity with lit candle. Some of the girls tittered with nervous expectation. Before the deity, Srila Prabhupada said, all right, now better begin kirtan. So Prabhupada began playing kartal and singing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to the popular melody he had introduced in America. Just in front, he called out, gesturing to Hayagriva to stand more directly before the deities. Devotees and the guests began rising to their feet and dancing, arm raised, body swaying rhythmically back and forth as they faced the bright personal form of the deities and chanted. Color lights within the canopy began flashing intermittently, blue, red, and yellow, highlighting the extraordinary eyes of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balram. Mukunda, who had arranged the light, smiled and looked to Swamiji, hoping for approval. Prabhupada nodded and continued forcefully singing Hare Krishna. The young hippies were enthusiastic in singing and dancing, knowing that the kirtan usually lasted an hour. Some had grasped the Swami's words when he had spoken of fixing the mind on the personal form of the Supreme Lord. And they had understood when he had looked up at the deity and said, here is Krishna. Others hasn't followed, but thought that it was just great and blissful to sing Hare Krishna and look at the grinning, big-eyed deities up on the altar amid the flowers and billowing incense. How much time do we have? We have 5 minutes. Prabhupada watched with pleasure as one person after another took turn at offering the candle before Lord Jagannath. This was a simple procedure for installing the deity. Although in big temple in India, the installation of the deity was complex, exact procedure requiring several days of continuous rituals directed by highly paid priests. In San Francisco, there were no brahmanas priests to pay, and many other standards would be impossible to maintain. For non-Hindus to handle Lord Jagannath and conduct his worship would be considered heresy by the caste-conscious brahmanas of India. Except for Prabhupada, none of the persons present would have been allowed even to enter the temple at Jagannath Puri. The white man, the Vaishnava, was not allowed to see Lord Jagannath except once a year as he rode in his cart during the Rath Yatra festival. But these restrictions were social customs, not the scriptural injunctions. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has introduced deity worship and initiation for anyone, regardless of the caste, race, or nationality. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati father, had longed for the day when the people of the West would mingle with the Indian brothers and chant Hare Krishna. So we will stop here. We should be punctual in our practices. And if anybody before the devotee leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of their faith. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much for joining every morning. If anybody has any question, comment, correction, chastisement, Ram Prabhu, you have something?
Nothing, Prabhu. Sorry.
Nothing. Okay. Okay, so I think there is no question, no comment, no corrections. So we should end our session. And if Krishna so desire, we will see you before 2 o'clock. Maharaj is also joining every